Yesterday I was scrolling through YouTube and I came across a performance with a left-handed guitar player and a lady playing a Hame keyboard. It was backwards. There was also no audio. I went to another performance and all I saw was someone holding up a piece of paper that said, "We'll be starting in a few minutes." Neither one of those gave a very good first impression. So we are very pleased today to have Jason Goodyear talk to you. Jason teaches the audio production and recording classes at Santa Fe Community College and is also an accomplished audio engineer, composer, and musician. He's certified instructor for Avid Pro Tools in Ableton, and he's currently helping some clients with their live casting through his company, Mediaslinger.com. Please welcome Jason. Before we get into live casting, Jason, could you tell us a little bit about what's going on at the Santa Fe Community College?
The community college is in some ways doing exactly what you talked about. They're sort of trying to seize the opportunity of the weird moment. You may have heard that in the spring, we were teaching regular class and then did the same thing many colleges did, where it was basically you go home for spring break and then they send you an email and say, don't come back. But what they did was, okay, all of a sudden, all our classes are online, figure it out. And they're really cool. They said, you know, everybody's still got a job. All of the students are still going to get their education. And we all figured it out, and it was great. So the fall's coming up. The vast majority of classes are going to be online. Lots of people are signing up. I have found that online teaching for software classes, whether it's, you know, design software or music or something like that, there are actually many benefits to screen sharing between students and the teacher. And so I'm really excited. In the fall, I'm going to be teaching Audio Production 1 class, which covers audio production basics and also Pro Tools. Intro to Reason and Live, which is two really great music software, electronic performance kind of pieces of software, while I'm going to be teaching a sound design for film class, which should be really great. And at the moment, I'm working on making it work over the internet, and it's going to be really fun.
Excellent. And I have had the privilege of taking one of his classes and found it to be very enlightening and had a great time. Today in live casting music, we're going to cover a wide range of techniques and let you know some great free resources. We're going to start out with a few tips for those of you who are using just a smartphone. So Jason, go wild.
I know of some of the people I'm seeing coming in here, and I know some of you are already streaming. I've seen some things. And so what I'm doing here is not like a like detailed sort of do this, then do that, and do the other thing. It's kind of a presentation of opportunities and ways that you can do things. If you have started doing this, you've already learned the lesson that there is no one way to do it. There's a million different ways to do it, and everybody kind of figures out what works for them. You know, I can help people figure out what works for them, but every time I talk to somebody about it, I learn something that I didn't know about that, or I never heard of that service. So for starters, a lot of times when people, they have, you know, an iPhone and they want to stream on it, there's a couple things that come up. And the first right away is quality. If you're going to be streaming on a phone, you have to figure out how to get better sound into there. The microphone that's in an iPhone is a condenser microphone. It does a good job of picking up sound, but it's designed to pick up the human speaking voice, and there's a complex set of expanders and compressors and noise removal that are in there that are not going to do a great job with music that's being played into it. The same is true of Zoom. If you go into the settings in Zoom, there are lots of things that you can turn off that will let sound coming through Zoom sound a whole lot better. So the first thing you got to do is just get something better sounding in there. Now, I have an iPhone to show off, so I'm going to stick with the iPhone. If you have an iPhone, you probably are familiar with that little guy right there. Unless you bought the latest one, which now that they cost more than $1,000, they don't give you one of these anymore. But this is the adapter that lets you plug a headphone in. You may have gone and thought, well, I'll plug a mini eighth inch in there and just see if I can make something happen, and nothing goes in. And that's because this guy actually inside it is this. And what that is not a tip ring sleeve. I feel like I can say tip ring sleeve to this crowd and they'll probably know what I'm talking about. It's not a TRS or tip ring sleeve stereo connector. It's a TRRS. And so if you want to, and you can do this, say you got yourself a little Mackie mini mixer and you got your microphone and your guitar and your all sorts of different stuff, some keyboards, everybody's running into the mixer, you can take the headphone out of it, run it into a little adapter like this, plug it into the adapter like that, and now you've got a mixer going into your phone. There are also lots of interfaces you can get that'll work. And I just want to mention that I do have a Google Doc that will be posted along with this talk that has some links to various things. Me personally, I've had for a long time this little iRig Pre, which it's battery operated. You can plug a mic in there. You can plug a condenser in there. It's got phantom power, headphone monitoring, and the right adapter. So I can set up a good microphone with this, run into my phone, and it sounds good. That's actually, I believe, the most important thing about streaming with the phone is getting something better sounding in there. You have the same concerns with the phone that you have with doing it on the computer, which is, don't stand in front of a window so you're all blown out from behind and all those other video concerns. But in general, the cameras on phones are awesome. So the biggest thing is being able to make it sound good. Now, I am going to show you one little thing about the phone. I'm actually going to share the screen of this phone right here. Because if you are intent on doing it on the phone, then there is actually a really cool little app I found that is free. And it's this one. It's the Laris Broadcaster, and it actually does the streaming for you. You can put in your Facebook info, your YouTube info, your everything else info, and it'll stream to all the services at once. It's, if you really want to do it on your phone, like I said, free. I got a link in the Google Doc to where you can get it, and it's a really amazing little app. And also the cool thing about phones is, you get your friend to like move it around, and you can do a whole bunch of different things with the phone that you can't do with the static webcam. So there's a lot that you can do with a little in that particular situation.
With phone, just remember, use this camera. Because that camera, first of all, is better quality. And second, if you use the camera on the front, although you'll be able to see yourself, you'll be left-handed to everybody else. Not that there's anything wrong with being left-handed, but if you're not left-handed, you don't want to look left-handed. So it's a great camera. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and the other thing is what Phil did of like horizontal as opposed to vertical. If you're on Instagram, you're trying to stream on Instagram, vertical works. Anywhere else, you're going to get those black bars or the fuzzy background or something like that because it's really meant to be horizontal. So there's kind of different levels for doing this, and I think and maybe level's the wrong word. There's sort of different approaches that get more complex as you go along, and I think the phone is a great intro sort of way to start. I think that if you do make the phone sound better and you get comfortable with it, I think eventually you're going to want to kind of take it a little bit farther. we're going to get into software that's meant for like bringing in multiple cameras and multiple audio streams and sending it out to multiple places. But we really should talk just a second about the simple things like I want to stream to Facebook. And again, to get to the page where you're streaming in Facebook, you have to go to a certain link. And I'm putting that in the Google Doc too, so that you can access that. And I keep mentioning it. So I think probably what I should do before it goes too far is, like I said, this will be posted um, with the video, but I just pasted it into the chat so that if you're looking at if you open up the chat in Zoom, you can see that link and see what I'm talking about. And again, it's not comprehensive. I know people who are like top of the industry and doing this sort of like technology, live performance kind of stuff. I don't know anybody who has put out a definitive, this is how you live stream. So these are just some links to things that I'm showing that I think for most people. So if you want to just simply stream, say, to Facebook, they call that Facebook Live. And so going into my Chrome here, when you go to Facebook Live, you end up at a page that's Facebook Live Producer and then a little code that represents you. You can use either a hardware encoder that we're not going to talk about. That's some pretty serious money and dedication. The stream key we are going to talk about for doing stuff with OBS or other software, or you can just use your webcam. And it's really easy if you want to stream something to Facebook, to just go to facebook.com/live, and you can get to this page and just click on use camera. You can say what camera if you have multiple cameras hooked up, and you can say what audio input if you have multiple audio inputs hooked up. And then all you got to do is hit the go live button. But one thing about streaming, like Phil said, he saw somebody online holding up a little thing that said, like, we're fixing the problem, we'll get to it right away. This is definitely something you can test. It's definitely something you can try out. One great, easy way to do it is just for your post, don't leave it at public. Just set it to only me. I'm going to make a stream. Nobody else can see it but me. And you can try it out. You can try out the look. You can try out the lighting. You can try out the sound. If you're using an audio interface, you can figure out, do you have to turn up the input? Maybe you want to add a little reverb to your voice. All those things you can try out and check it out from a computer and a phone and all the different places people are gonna be watching you. So this is a great option that you definitely should do before you like take everything live to the world so that everybody can love you for your brilliance. One thing that I like to mention in regards to streaming stuff is that it's really a gig. I think that I know all these people, they're so used to gigs that, you say, hey, Phil, you have to play at 7:00. And Phil goes and grabs his amplifier and heads downtown and plays at 7:00, and he knows what he's doing. And I think people get thrown by the technology and think it's kind of something, and it can be confusing, but there are just simple things that you can practice and rehearse, and so you know what you're doing and you learn something and then you can present it. And you also then don't get stressed out about it. It's like everybody's been at the gig where something went wrong and you figured it out and you made it happen, and then afterwards people enjoyed the music. So this is just a great way to practice. It's a great way to rehearse, is to just go to Facebook, set it to only me, and try something. YouTube calls their thing YouTube Studio, and you can also go directly to here and either stream from a service or just use your webcam. Same thing. Do you want it to be public? Do you want it to be private? YouTube, for some reason, I don't quite know why, but with YouTube, you have to say either yes, it's made for kids, or no, it's not made for kids if you're going to stream. Um, and then you can add a description and choose your settings like everything else. Both of these lets you schedule things. So you can set up a Facebook stream, and instead of just hitting go live, you can schedule it to happen a little bit later. Um, it's if you want to just pick a service and stream to, this is good. Everybody then knows, oh, Jason's always streaming on YouTube, or Jason's always going to stream on Facebook, and you can make those choices and just go ahead and do it that way. Um, th- there is a benefit, though, to sending it out to more than one place at a time, and that's basically separate audiences. There are certain people who go on YouTube who don't go on Facebook, and vice versa. And there's also a third one that's becoming more and more important, and that's Twitch. If you go to twitch.tv, it started out as pretty strictly video game streaming. So people would play whatever they would play and use their console to stream it to Twitch, and then people watch people play video games and comment on it and give them money because they like what they're watching. And so some people, musicians, started migrating over to Twitch, and it actually has some benefits. The quality of audio that comes from Twitch is actually better than YouTube or Facebook. So some people really like that. Um, it used to be that Twitch was not so crazy about the copyright stuff, which sounds like crazy about the copyright. Sounds like it could be a good thing. People are protecting your intellectual property. But the idea is, if you may have seen this on YouTube, where somebody's like streaming some music or a DJ set or something like that, and then it just stops. And it's because Google's algorithm has noticed some copywritten material and canceled the whole stream. The unfortunate part of that is I know people who have been streaming their own music and had their stream canceled because Google recognized, you know, copyright infringement of them by them. Twitch is a little bit less hardcore about that, although they are getting more so. But that's one reason that musicians kind of started migrating over there, is a little bit more of a Wild West sort of thing for a while. So um, if you want to go directly at streaming to a certain service, it's pretty easy to just go there to the YouTube page or the Facebook page or whatever. But if you want to go and spread it a little bit wider, what you really need is two things. One is software that's designed to do streaming specifically, and then some service that splits it for you and restreams it. So I'm starting to talk a whole lot. Phil, did you want to slow me down at all? Because I can just keep going.
You're on a roll, but let me just point out a couple things. I want to reiterate the importance of rehearsal. In that, there's a new element. It's like adding new gear to a gig. You're going to have to learn how to use it when it doesn't want to be used, and you have to go through some things. So having a dry run where you call in a couple of your favorite aunts and the kids down the street to watch, and give it a dry run before you go to your full audience. And the second really practical thing is to have somebody help you. Have a person who's there to hold the camera and push the button and make sure it's streaming, and actually move the camera around and make it a little bit more interesting. So trying to do it all on your own is very difficult. Having someone help you out is a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. And music is always more fun when there's collaboration going on. Art's always more fun when there's collaboration going on. So I like it a whole lot. Um, okay, so if um, if you want to do something more than just with your phone or your webcam, going to Facebook. A good first step is getting some software that's designed to do streaming. And the most common one that people use right now is one that's called OBS, stands for Open Broadcaster System, Broadcasting System. Everybody just says OBS, but the it's free. It's freeware, and it's amazing. It's amazing that it's free. But if you've ever used any freeware, you know there's little sort of downsides to everything that someone gives you for free on the internet. No one's stealing your information or anything like that. But you might find yourself occasionally wishing that the software did something that it doesn't. Um, that being said, it pretty much does everything you would want it to do in this situation, and then some. Now, you will run into a couple other things. There are some other pieces of software that are paid or website based. Most of those are paid too, that will let you do some streaming. There is also a company called Streamlabs that has their streaming software, which is actually a facelift on OBS. People call it Slobs because it's Streamlabs OBS. Some people prefer that because it's a little friendlier than OBS, but it also has problems in that it it Streamlabs uses more of the processor than OBS does. And that's actually an important issue to stop and talk about because streaming audio and video together is demanding on any computer. And if you're trying to use a DAW at the same time to like play some backing tracks or something like that, it's even more demanding on the computer. So there's a few things that you want to keep in mind in terms of the hardware that you're using. Now, as I said before, there is dedicated streaming hardware that you could get. Most people who are doing what we're talking about today don't get it. It's much more common, like if someone's putting on a festival or something like that, that they would have a budget for getting some equipment like that. But if you have a computer, uh, it's not necessarily going to work great on every computer and every internet connection. And it's not because anybody's doing anything wrong or it's bad software or something like that. It's just it is demanding. And unfortunately, one of the demands is internet speed, which is the challenge in New Mexico. Um, and so if you want to stream with a software like OBS, what you want is, first of all, it'd be great if you had a newer computer that's got a faster processor in it. The next thing that you really need is a faster internet connection. The important thing is not how fast it is coming down, but how fast it is going up. If you want to stream reliably, it's good to have between 5 and 6 megabits going up so that you have enough of a package that it can send out video consistently. And, in Santa Fe, that pretty much means Comcast. Um, the other thing that really does help you is actually an Ethernet cable. So everybody's used to Wi-Fi. You set up the modem, you got Wi-Fi in the house. Um, Internet speed can go up and down, and then in addition to that, Wi-Fi can be funky and flaky all by itself, especially depending on relationship to the router. Many people who do this regularly have discovered and have told me and written about how sometimes just plugging a cable in made their life so much easier because then you bypass all the flakiness of the Wi-Fi. And you can get a 50-foot Ethernet cable for like $10. It's not, oh, I got to buy all this incredible expensive hardware or something like that. If you have a Mac, of course, you have to buy an adapter because you have to buy an adapter for everything with a Mac. But it's really not an incredible expense to set up some hardware. And by that, I mean a router and an Ethernet cable to the computer so you don't have to rely on the Wi Fi. I'm not on my Wi Fi right now. I like drag the cable. I have the same thing, big 50-foot long cable that is hidden under a bookshelf. And then when I want to stream, I yank it out and plug it into the back of the computer. And it just gives a certain sense of stability to the whole thing. So if you have that set up, you can certainly do it without it. It's just a little bit riskier. But if you have that set up, then like I said, the software that I would recommend is OBS. And I'm going to go ahead and share OBS with you. Just the screen when I find it. All right, so this is what OBS looks like. Basically, what we have going on here is we have a video preview up here. Now, and then we've got an audio mixer here and some settings and controls over here to the right. What's going on the left is you have the ability to make what are called scenes. And a scene can consist of different video inputs, graphics, text, anything like that. There's lots of different things you can put in a scene. We have scenes and we have sources, and you can see a bunch of stuff. Audio input and output, images, video capture, all sorts of things like that could be in a scene. And then you can switch between scenes. I'm going to right now do a little something with my phone because I want to make sure that I can have my phone going on here. One thing that you can do with OBS is you can get multiple cameras in and what are called virtual cameras. If you had been using Zoom for a while, you may have figured out the virtual camera thing, which as of Zoom 5, when they got all security crazy, it doesn't recognize virtual cameras anymore. But OBS does, and so I got a little piece of software for my phone that's called Epic Cam, and I did put a link in the doc. And with Epic Cam, you can set up your iPhone to be part of the show in OBS. So I actually have 3 cameras set up here. I've got my FaceTime cam, I got a little Logitech cam next to it, I've got my phone cam, and I've got these mapped out to keys on my keyboard so I can jump around back and forth between them to like get all the different. When Phil was talking about have someone help you out, if you're using OBS, you can just sit here and play your guitar and do your thing, and then your friend can be at the computer just like doing moves with the scenes to change the cameras. And as you saw, I can do things in here, like I can pop up my Media Slinger logo right there on the screen. As Phil said, I'm also an Ableton certified trainer for training in Ableton Live and Push. So you can do things like that, and it works really well. It's a great way to kind of liven up what the performance is. It would be great if like doing a good online performance was just like taking your guitar over to someone's house and singing them a song. But there is this weird thing that happens with the technology, and I love watching. I have a friend who does piano pieces on streaming on Facebook and Instagram, and it's great. It's just watching her play piano. But there is the like technological definition that's going on here, and this lets you take advantage of it. and like add some more cameras. Um, the Logitech cameras, this one that I have, that's old. It does not look very good. It's this old webcam. But Logitech is the brand that most people go for with if they want to add some webcams into it now. Their new HD cameras are really, really nice and have some, even like some software zoom features in them and things like that. So this is OBS. The other thing that I mentioned was being able to split your stream to like hit lots of audiences at once. And the I'm gonna like stop this share and I'm gonna actually bring up Google Chrome again.
Let me do a quick segue here. When
Yeah.
you put your music online, you got a couple things you want to keep in mind that there's a difference between a real-time performance and a live performance.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that is if you're going live on YouTube or you're going live on whatever, uh, you're live, and that's when you might have to show up put up that piece of paper that says you're live. But an example of really good live real-time performance um, is our good friend Sean Heelan locally here, who he does one every Friday. He comes on, he talks about what he's going to do. He actually greets people as they come on, so it's very interactive performance. The other way to do a live performance is, Waiting for Columbus is a live album. It's a great live album, but it's not happening right now. A live performance can be pre-taped, pre-recorded, and a little bit of editing done. So when you go live, you're not giving a real-time performance, but you're giving a live interactive performance with your other musicians. If you can get that together ahead of time, you're in good shape. A couple weeks ago, Zach Brown and his band did what they call a live performance, and they may have recorded it that day or just before it went on, but amazingly, one guitar turned into another, so I knew there was a little bit of editing there, and it was not real time. But it still had the same impact of a quality performance done online. So that's an important thing is to choose the medium, either real time or live performance that best meets your comfort level.
Yeah, I think the thing about what we're talking about here is really the communication part. It's like the delivery. It's not vinyl, it's not CD, it's not an MP3, it's this streaming thing. That's the technology, and still what really does matter is the music. So just like Phil said, somebody would really love hearing like a live album that they've heard before. Seeing a great music performance is a wonderful thing. I think that there is something to be said for knowing it's live, for knowing it's happening at the time. What I always tell my students is that, one of the best things about live performance is the chance for everything to go wrong, because it adds a little energy to the whole thing. It adds a little interest to the whole thing. And I think performance is largely about risk. You practice, you rehearse, you do all sorts of stuff, and then you have to deal with reality as it happens. So I love it when somebody like Sean will just go online and perform online, or my friend who plays piano, just to do it. And I think people feel that, but it's a weird time in the world. I think that people are really still liking the spontaneous live stuff, but I think that people are also kind of craving something that really makes them feel wow. So it's this is like the door to the audience, what we're talking about right now, and you still people will still value you because it's you and they like the music that you make. Um, so what I was getting to is restreaming service, and the one that I use and that most people I know use, um, is actually called Restream. And what Restream does is instead of streaming to YouTube or streaming to Facebook, you stream to Restream. This is also incidentally a free service. There is one sort of thing that makes me wish I paid for the paid version of this, is that if you're streaming to Facebook with the free version, you can only go to your personal account. If you have the paid version, you could stream to a Facebook page. So let's say your band has a fan page. If you have the free version, you can't stream to the fan page. But you could stream to your own account and then share it to your fan page, and that would work, which is what most people do. But so basically, I went into Restream and I set up Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And you can see here, I've got Restream set up. It says I'm offline. But down here, we have our stream key. And so this is what connects OBS to anything, is a stream key. So I have my Restream stream key here, and it didn't work last time when I just tried to switch my sharing right from one to another. So I'm gonna stop and go back. In OBS here, if I just go into settings, go into my stream, and I just said I want to stream to Restream, and I put in my stream key. And so my OBS is just constantly ready to go stream, and Restream is constantly ready to receive my stream. So working with OBS, if you go through the steps of setting up some scenes and setting up some cameras and the microphones and everything you want to use, OBS is ready to go, and all you need to do to stream is open it up and hit the start streaming button. And right now we are streaming to Restream. This is not going out to the real world yet, and this is another example of rehearsing. So like if you are going to stream to YouTube, if you got yourself a Restream account, you can actually stream to Restream, check out the audio quality and the video quality there. If we go and check it out, switch back over to Restream, you can see me here. I'm streaming. I'm probably like about 5 to 8 seconds behind because that's how long the video stream takes to get out there. But if I were to just hit this on button right here, instantly I would be set out to all 3 services at once. And so you can just, post an event that says at a certain point in time I'm going to be streaming, and you could send it out to people on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And then at the certain point in time, you just go to make your stream happen, check it out on Restream, hit the on button. It goes out there. Honestly, what happens is you hit the on button and it says, "Oh, please restart your stream," and, and then you restart your stream, and then it goes live. It's like that's one of those things that all this technology seems to be kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit. So most everything has got a little glitchy something built into it, but this works very well. I've been doing a weekly kind of ambient improv sort of thing with a couple friends who are obsessed with sound, and this is how we do it. And it's, we may have problems with some technology, but we don't ever have problems with just hitting the streaming button. It just happens. The other thing you can do in OBS, though, I think Phil and I keep beating the rehearsal drum, but right below the start streaming button is a start recording button. So you could do this either to practice, again, just like checking it out, see how things are working, or you could do it to record a performance and then do the editing and then stream it online. OBS does a good quality recording, both video and audio, of the stuff that you put into it. So it works both ways. I know people use OBS for tutorial stuff all the time. I could set up in OBS. This is a little weird having Zoom and OBS going at the same time because people are watching through Zoom, where usually people would be watching what I'm doing through OBS. With OBS, I could, for instance, just set up key commands that would say show Google or show Restream or show this. And so somebody could do a tutorial and just switch back and forth between different apps and record it and then post it online as learn how to do XYZ. So OBS is great for streaming. It's also got other uses. And again, I want to emphasize free. It's, it takes a little bit of time to get used to it, but there are lots of tutorials online about how to do things with OBS. And if you're familiar with computers at all, you'll be able to figure it out.
And just to reiterate, some of the people that communicated to us before this session plan on doing things with orchestras, live performances, and that type of
Mhm.
thing. And they have some pretty good plans, some pretty good ideas for how to stabilize their businesses, their performing arts groups, and so on. So it's very important. These are some great tools, but if you have someone like Jason or another person who knows really what they're doing, it's just going to let the performers perform, and you can get your message out there, and you can keep things going during this weird time.
That's an excellent point because um, you do want to keep in mind that you're a musician. And you maybe don't want to become a computer geek overnight. It's like what I always tell my students is like the laptop home bedroom recording revolution. I personally think is awesome because I think the more music that gets out there, the better. But it does bring up one of the essential problems that is an essential part of the working relationship around recording, which is that the performer mindset and the engineer mindset are different. And so, as Phil's been saying over and over, having someone helping you, it lets you be you. It lets you do the thing that you're good at, So, as he said, if if somebody wants to, oh, we want to be able to continue, we want to stream these performances so we can stay in touch with the world. um, a little help can get you going pretty quickly. And once you get a setup figured out, there's a certain amount of figure it out and then don't touch itness to this whole thing, because once it works, it works.
And even if it works, like you said, it doesn't always work. You can do one thing three times in a row. The fourth time is just not going to work, and that'll be at the wrong time. So, um,
Yeah.
one thing we didn't want to spend a lot of time on today, but we do want to mention is because we could go on for another hour on this one topic, is people who want to perform from my computer. Let's say Jason and I wanted to do a tune together here, and we're both online. Can that be done? Well, not really, but tell us a little bit about where that's at right now. Then we'll sort of wrap this up.
Yeah, I actually have been convinced that it can kind of sort of be done now. When COVID first hit, one of the first things I did was try a whole bunch of these different services, and none of them worked. To my experience, none of them worked. Um, but there is one called Jam Kazam that my friend Scott Jarrett had told me, nope, he had sat down with some friends and figured it out. And one of the big problems is the internet speed thing. I mean, I previous to this, I had known a couple people. One guy lived in Brazil, the other guy lived in Germany. And they were like, yeah, we played music together. It worked. And then I found out that they both had fiber optic connections with their internet, which, it's not uncommon for me to deal with somebody in Santa Fe who has a download speed of like 15 megabits, and fiber is more than 1,000. So significantly faster internet. But Scott turned me on to Jamkazam, and there is a way to do it, which kind of sort of works. And what it entails, in my experience, is you take essentially a drum loop, you make 5-10 minute drum loop, and you can upload it to Jamkazam and say, play this, and you can tell it to loop. And then everybody plays along with that. You still hear you're not like just hearing the drum loop and playing your part. You get to hear everybody else, but everybody hears that drum loop. And then when you record it through Jamkazam, it records everything separately, so you don't hear the drum loop in the recording. It works. It's really fun. Um, it What it sounds like is kind of like the drummer is drunk, because it's not dead on. It drifts, it goes around a little bit, but it comes back. What Scott told me was like, when you feel the beat drifting a little bit, if you kind of stay playing at the same tempo, that loop will come back in and find you. It's like the internet is just, the waves of the internet are going up and down. But again, it's possible, and we had a great time. It was really fun to just sit and play music with him, and it wasn't frustrating at all. And I've got a fairly fast connection, but I know that his isn't as fast as mine, and we both live in Santa Fe, so there's hope for anybody.
Very good. Do you have any closing statements you want to make before I turn it over to David?
No, well, I guess I would just say, if you're interested in contacting me about anything, these fine folks who invited me have my contact information. Just reach out to them. Also, if you went online and looked at the Google Doc, I put my contact info in there. The name of my business is Media Slinger, so you can find me at mediaslinger.com. And hit me up. I'll answer questions for you and see if there's any way I can help you out.
Okay. Thank you, Jason, very much. A lot of great info. And of course, we're just scraping the surface. When I first asked Jason to do this, he said he'd do it, but it'd be about a 6-week course. So as you can see, we tried to get 6 weeks into 35 minutes. As he said, if you like personalized assistance from him, he's available through his production company, mediaslinger.com. And I can't say enough about his fine courses out there at the college. The college is a wonderful place to learn about music in the media arts and film division. Is just quite amazing. So he's a great local resource, as is the college. So in a few days, this webinar is going to be available on our Platinum Music Awards YouTube channel if you want to review the content or share that with some of your friends. And with that, thank you, Jason, and let me turn it back over to David.
Thanks, Phil. And Jason, thank you very much. Great information.
Great.
Also like to thank Trish Parks for her behind-the-scenes work today. Also, Linda Storm and David Hansen for their assistance. We hope you all got something out of today's conversation, and you'll join us again next month on the 24th of August for another Music Biz Monday. That panel will feature commercial and project recording studio operators discussing how things are changing in the studio world in the wake of COVID-19. On that panel will be John O'Manson of Kitchen Sink Studio, Baird Banner of Klugit Sound, and Ron Crowder of In Crowd Studios. Again, that's on the 24th of August, 5 o'clock on Monday. To join us for that conversation, please email us at musicbizmonday@gmail.com. That's musicbiz with a Z, Monday@gmail.com, and we'll put you on the list. Also, if you have suggestions for future Music Biz Mondays, please let us know what you'd like to see, and we'll do our best to supply that. So I guess this wraps up today's version. So thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you next month. Be well.